Hello, my name is David Malin, and I'm the instructor for Computer Science E1, Understanding Computers and the Internet at Harvard University's Extension School. You're watching one of our videos of the week. For more such videos or information about this course, visit us on the web at computerscience1.org. Enjoy the show.
Hello, my name is Ray Diaz, one of the teaching fellows for Computer Science E1, Understanding Computers and the Internet. In this class, we talk a lot about PCs, dissecting them, reassembling them, upgrading them, purchasing parts for them, and so forth. Now we're going to talk about what goes into designing and building a PC from the ground up. I'm very happy to say that we had a fantastic opportunity to conduct a phone interview with Mark Deanna, a product marketing manager for Alienware, a manufacturer of PCs. He talked with us about what Alienware does and how the company works with consumers to provide products.
Well, first of all, welcome, Mark. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us and for agreeing to be interviewed for the class. We really appreciate it.
No problem, no problem.
So why don't we get started? Could you please tell us a little bit about what you do and what your role is with Alienware?
Okay, so I'm the product marketing manager for desktops. I handle all of the marketing messaging and all of the customer conveyance across all the desktop channels and workstation and entertainment channels for Alienware. So basically, if you're looking at something on the web that has to do with the desktop or one of our entertainment units or our workstations, you're looking at some messaging that I've created, some of the work that our design team here has created, and most of this stuff that is created on the outside comes in collaboration with myself mainly and a lot of different people here at Alienware.
So what's your most favorite part of your day?
So the most favorite part of my day is actually working with the upcoming products. So I also work, I'm sort of the conduit in between marketing and product group here. So I get to see all the new stuff that isn't really out yet, all the stuff that's up and coming that we're thinking about doing, some stuff that we're not thinking about doing, but it's just interesting technology that we bring in to see if we can incorporate into our products, and some of the stuff that is launching within the next couple weeks. So that's really the most favorite part of my job here at Alienware.
I can tell you right now that answer just made our entire staff completely jealous.
That's all right. I hope one of these days some of your staff members will be working for us here at Alienware. We have great opportunities, and you know, now that so many future products are coming up with AMD and Intel, there's just some really amazing things that I'm able to look at and get a sneak peek in, and I can tell you that the future is very exciting here at Alienware. So if they'd like to apply, the website's always looking.
We've got to get our little pitch in there, yeah. Could you please explain Alienware's relationship with Dell?
Absolutely. So Alienware was actually purchased by Dell in May of 2006. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of Dell. So basically what that means is that, and I'm going to give you the honest answer here. Dell basically functions as they are and nothing changes. And Alienware also functions as we are and nothing really changes on the front end. So our audience, our market, our demographic, our customer is able to really have a product that's been untouched by any of the corporate assets. So after Dell acquired Alienware, it pretty much was a back end thing for us here at the company. So a lot of their stuff like integration and supply chain has been a lot easier to attain on our end, and we have gotten price breaks and stuff like that on our end. But we're able to keep Alienware's DNA and sort of corporate strategy and corporate innovation on the front end. So we're still basically, like our CEO put it, really business as usual. Nothing has changed. So we're able to sort of take advantage of their back end muscle but still provide our customers with that same great experience that they've come to know from Alienware.
How do you see, for example, Alienware's product line coexisting with Dell's XPS line, which, at least on the surface for most newbies to the industry, looks like it's targeting the same demographic?
Absolutely. So it's really like sibling rivalry, like I like to call it. So it's two brothers that are competing in a race for the same market. And yes, we do compete in the same space. At the end of the day, it is just friendly competition, and we do. So there's no of this kicking sand in the face, if you will. It's just friendly competition, and we really bounce off of each other. So we like to see what the Dell folks are doing, and I'm sure they love to see what we're doing. And at the end of the day, it's really just fun competition, which really doesn't hurt any part of our business.
Okay. As you know, Computer Science E1 is an introductory class. In a typical semester, we have students disassemble, reassemble, and upgrade PCs. And while this has given them some knowledge about what might be found or put into a PC, and perhaps some insight about what it might take to build a so-called white box PC themselves, could you please walk us through the process of how you guys manufacture a PC in broad strokes? What happens from the time a consumer pulls up your website to the point at which the delivery arrives at their doorstep?
Wow, so that's a pretty big question. I'm gonna break it down as simply as I can, and if I missed a point or you have a question, just stop me.
Okay, thanks.
So basically, what happens is we are a web-focused company. We do have one retail location here in Miami, Florida, but we're primarily web-based. So the customer begins by selecting their system online, whichever system really best suits their needs with what they're looking for. Are they looking for high-end, premium? Are they looking for multimedia, gaming, entertainment? So we try and help the customer make that determination as to what system they'd like, and then they really place the order. If you take a look at our configurator options and any other computer manufacturer, you'll notice that Alienware probably has about 3 to 4 times the amount of options that your standard run-of-the-mill PC manufacturer would have. The reason why we do this is because, and you guys being computer science majors would know, there's a lot of R&D and back-end validation that goes to bringing that type of consumer option set to the customer. But we value a customer's, customers who want 16 gigs of memory, 32 gigs of memory, but they don't want a certain video card. They want a Quadro instead of a GeForce card. So this option set is kept open, and there's countless validation hours poured into this process, so that we can have a customer who comes to our site and says, I can get it exactly how I want it. So once the customer decides what configuration they'd like, then the order is placed in manufacturing. Once that order is placed, we basically build out the order in a bin. The bin gets all the parts get pulled immediately from our inventory. The bin then goes to the manufacturing floor where it gets assembled by a technician.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. There's an individual technician who assembles each and every order?
Yes, there's an individual technician who hand builds each and every order that comes through our factory. So those orders then leave the actual building portion and go into what we call integration. The integration part is where the computer gets placed with all of its software, and we do strenuously test our systems immediately after they leave integration. So there's no bloatware placed on our systems. There's no extra garbage placed on our systems, which some manufacturers may put like commercialized software and stuff like that. Our system simply has Windows XP, and you get a benchmark score from 3D Mark. So you get your CPU score also from 3D Mark and your video card performance score from 3D Mark as well. Those are done after integration. After the system has been integrated, it gets put through our QA system, which is a strenuous point checking system. After that, once it passed all the QA procedures, it gets boxed and shipped out to the customer. This whole process can take around 7 to 8 days.
So in addition to the more options you offer in system configuration, are there any other significant ways in which your process is different from that of your competitors?
Yes, there is. Just the fact that Alienware performs a lot of benchmarking on your hardware is one difference. Another difference is the strenuous QA testing, which we do. Another difference being the hand building of the systems. So through every process of the system manufacturing template, there is an individual assigned to your system. So through integration, there's an individual there integrating your PC. There's no machine touching this. There's people pushing the system down the line through integration to QA. So your systems are being looked at by people who want to build a good system, who are there to ensure that your system that's leaving Alienware is a high-performance system that meets all of our guidelines. That being the major difference. Even going up to the very high end with our ALX units, we have system builders that actually walk the system through each step. Kind of like, are you familiar with Ford's FCT process?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not.
So Ford Motors actually has a group called SVT, which is Special Vehicle Team. And what happens is the Special Vehicle Team sort of gets together and builds your Mustang Cobra. That's really how we do our ALX systems. We have one person who gets the ALX, they build it, they do integration, they do the QA, and at the end they sign the system. So that person's name is on your system when you order it. And that's the tech who actually built the system, who spent countless hours with the system, and who actually, that one person physically built you your system. So kind of like a similar approach to that Ford SVT, where Ford's manufacturers and their engineers also sign off on those special cars. We really like to keep our high-end touched by very, very few people than the special ALX team who's actually building them out.
So because so many of your products are built to order, the cost of manufacturing an individual system can vary wildly depending on what gets put inside. So how does Alienware streamline this process so that each outbound product brings in revenue without gouging the customer? In other words, how do you balance the need for profit with the need for reasonable pricing to find that sweet spot of cost?
Excellent question. Very good question. So growing pains are apparent in every company, and Alienware certainly has its growing pains or had its growing pains. Alienware was often perceived by a customer as being, over $1,000 systems, as being quote-unquote expensive systems. Now, with the company growing in size, and especially here's where the Dell question can come into play. So because we're receiving great costs from Dell on our on some of our back-end products, which to be honest with you is the same product that we've been receiving before. So you guys being in the computer science industry would know that Dell actually builds its own PC parts. Like you have an actual, maybe an Intel 975 motherboard, but it's built specifically for Dell. So it has Dell branding on it. It's only made to be used in a Dell system. We're not receiving those parts. The parts Alienware is receiving is the parts from our vendors that we've always been receiving. But we're able to get those parts at a significantly reduced cost. That cost is passed along to the customer, as well as passed along to the system builder or system integrator. So we're able to sort of save costs on getting the parts in, but we're able to kick up QA. We're able to kick up the amount of people that we have physically working with the system. So we're able to keep that high level of quality on the system, but we're saving costs on the actual unit parts of the system.
So it's like a continuous sort of tightrope balancing act.
Exactly. And as you see Alienware get larger, prices will go down. I mean, now we offer notebooks that are $7.99 on our site, $8.99, $9.99. So our starting at price point for our products is very competitive. We have a great product line out there. Our middle of the road, our 15-inch widescreen notebook starts at $9.99, and you can expect these prices to go down as the company continues to grow. So we're doing exactly what you said. As it is a tightrope balancing act in between cutting costs but preserving your quality, which can be a difficult line to cross, as I'm sure you would know.
So if we can get away from Alienware-specific talk for just 1 second, and talk about the PC manufacturing industry in general, the one laptop per child effort at MIT likes to tout their $100 laptop, which some observers see as a little bit silly since market prices are continued trending downward. Some folks have even been so bold to say that market prices are trending to the $100 point anyway. Do you concur with this prediction that systems will eventually arrive at that price point? If so, when? And if not, then at what price point do you think the market in general will hit equilibrium for everyday use laptops?
So, well, really what we're talking about here is usage model versus actual component level. So those $100 laptops are able to be put out there because they don't have a battery in them. If you take a look at them, and they're kind of like, well, it looks almost like a wind-up toy. You basically have a lever that comes out of the side of the notebook, and you wind it up for your battery's energy. And that's fine. That's a great product. It's doing amazing things. They're able to spread it around the world. But at a component level, at a usage level, I mean, you can't really get high-definition graphics on a system like that. So really, it's about usage level, right? So whatever my usage level is, my components and component prices will follow suit. So I don't really see products that are cutting-edge technology that are basically in the market for, let's say, workstations to decrease in price anytime soon, because there's so much R&D, there's so much development that goes behind those products that they have to warrant that price tag. Besides the fact that the customer who's purchasing them is going to be using the product to be creating some pretty amazing stuff. And while I'm on the line of workstations, we have workstations that are available now with 2 dual-core processors. So there'll be workstations down the road with 2 quad-core processors soon. I mean, that sort of component level will really never fall down in price. The mainstream will. So when you were saying what is the sort of price that I foresee the future landing on, I think really market sets the price and usage model. So right now it's dual-core, so the price actually has increased. So let's say the end of the single-core era in a notebook PC, you're probably looking at around $400, which probably was set by Dell. So Dell set the laptop at $400 with the usage model with the Core Solo. Now, because the usage model has shifted to multitasking, higher bit rates, higher files that need more memory, Windows Vista around the corner, the usage model has shifted from single core to dual core, which now warrants a higher price tag. So to answer your question simply, right now I see the mainstream price tag being somewhere along the lines of $650 to $700. But that's solely based on usage model. As usage model begins to get more mainstream, as people begin to adopt dual core and Vista and all of the software applications that warrant these powerful hardware moves, we'll start to see the price go slowly down. But keep in mind that the next wave of technology will also be at a higher price point. But yeah, right now, as the market stands today, I think the ultra mainstream is somewhere around $600 to $700 per notebook.
So if we can stick in the realm of the general, coming from a typical consumer's point of view, there are so many choices available for each of so many families of products. For example, a quick Google search will yield more than 2 million pages for memory sticks. Further research by a typical consumer might turn up several different standards for memory sticks. It would seem that compatibility and interoperability should be important to manufacturers, since complexity and uncertainty tends to turn off consumers. But we've all run across a situation where one piece of hardware won't work with another. So how do you address the perception that sometimes it seems like manufacturers don't make it easy to use a single format or interface for hardware?
So manufacturers that do that are probably more focused in rolling out units and volume than in actually providing a customer with a device that has plenty of R&D behind it, that has plenty of validation behind it, that has plenty of man hours invested into it. So to very simply answer your question, the component level that's issued per manufacturer is really up to the manufacturer's price point and unit play. So Alienware does not really address those issues because our customer is basically looking for top of the line and is able to basically target on a notebook or a product that can provide that feature set that works all at the same time.
So if we ask you to predict the future with the, for example, increasingly popular use of webcams for conference calls, do you see manufacturers moving to include a swivel cam as a standard built-in item for all laptops?
Absolutely. Again, this goes back to the usage model. So with software like Vista around the corner that really embraces that sort of that coming of age technology, and to be honest with you, Ray, you guys who are in the computer industry and us here, we've known. I mean, webcams have been around, since the early 90s. Readily available webcams, that is. So if the market is really shifting from that person who had a webcam once in the early 90s to sort of saying, hey, you're sort of behind the pace if you don't have a webcam, then that's up to manufacturers and to OEMs like Alienware and the rest of the pack to say, you know what, this is a feature set that absolutely is a necessity these days because of the usage model. Text messaging, cell phones, cameras on phones. So we've seen it all happen, and early adopters like Alienware who are able to integrate that technology sooner into a PC, it just means that that hardware is going to be able to stay around for a longer window of time. So before it would have maybe 6 years, now the product has 8 years because it has a webcam attached to it. So I do see a need to shift towards greater hardware, but I also have to say, where's the sensibility? Where does it stop when it's saying, do I need a password? Do I need biometrics? I mean, or you can see when the hardware sort of gets redundant, when it's sort of a scam. I mean, Windows has a great password feature. Why do I need biometrics? Well, maybe if somebody steals my notebook, then I may need biometrics. So if there's a usage model and there is sort of this customer drive behind it, then I see that as being a valid product point. But without it, I don't.
So following up on laptops specifically, here in E1 we are acutely aware of laptop battery life, or sometimes what feels like the lack thereof, and related issues like the Sony battery recall. If you've ever watched this in lecture, we post videos of our lectures all online. The whole staff is typing away on our mobile devices. One of our TAs, Dan Armendariz, likes to say, we type with the fury of 1,000 suns. So, but my question is, why has laptop battery life failed to advance significantly over the past 10 years? And where are the technological barriers to building a better battery?
Great question. So actually, we're doing a lot of internal focus R&D around batteries. So we're actually expecting to see some breakthroughs. Dell has seen tremendous breakthroughs in the battery department. I think one of their PCs can be capable of being on for 8 to 10 hours. So they are advancing. They're not advancing at the rate that everybody would like to see them advance at. I mean, I would love to have a notebook that can stay unplugged for days, but unfortunately that's not the case. What it comes down to, again, is companies like, so the Sony battery incident, companies like Sony, like Samsung, like Fujitsu, who actually manufacture their own batteries, does the usage model warrant the R&D development time? Is there an ROI to say, hey, I'd like to develop a battery that lasts 2 days without turning it off, that lasts 48 hours? What's the ROI behind it? What's the usage model? Is my notebook really going to be unplugged for 2 days? Am I really going to be on it for 48 hours? Or can I get by with a battery that lasts for 24? How about 12, you know? So it's up to companies to take that leap in innovation, and Alienware is starting to do that more now with things like batteries, with different technology, with programs integrated into our systems. It's up to companies to say, you know what, even if there's not a real ROI in this, we're willing to take the step forward for innovation and say that, you know what, we believe that our customers can benefit from this. We believe that it's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to shoot for the stars. Let's say I can't get 48 hours battery life, but I can get 24. Those types of things are really what makes a successful company at the end of the day. It's those risks in innovation. So Alienware, you know, we are trying to take a look at things and say, you know, what our customers like. What's the sort of feedback? Are batteries in the market today, are they too limited? How can we make them better? So we're always thinking of stuff like that, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure others at your school think the same way. So when can we see better batteries on the market? Well, when are your students going to get out of class and start making these better batteries,
right? They've got to finish school first. They got to at least get by me first, right?
Good. You can see the usage model from your students, and basically you can see innovation, and it's usually exponential, right? So hopefully, if we're seeing batteries now that do 9 hours, 10 hours, probably the next batch of really advanced will be doing, you know, exponential that. So probably doing 18 to 20, hopefully.
So if you'll indulge me with one more laptop-related question, one example of not so great laptop ergonomics is the use of a wireless card inserted into the PCMCIA slot adjacent to the keyboard. This can sometimes interfere with normal keyboard use because the user's hand sits against the antenna of the card and may potentially break the antenna off. In other ways, this problem of ergonomics also applies to keyboard expansions, audio jack positioning, infrared positioning, and so on. So how do manufacturers look at what's coming out and how to get better ergonomics in their designs?
Excellent question. So we at Alienware are very focused around design, as I'm sure you know. Design really takes a product that's sort of there and average and basically makes it something amazing. So to answer that question, I think that in the future you're going to start to see more products that are basically integrated with these things as usage models see fit. So people who are constantly bumping into these problems will say to themselves, why do I have the PCI slot on the notebook with my card in it, and why am I constantly bumping into it? It should be on the back. Well, then it gets moved to the back and it gets bumped around again, and then somebody says, you know what, I'm just going to integrate the card into the notebook. Which if you remember, was how actually wireless got started. So wireless was usually always on the outside with the PCI slot on the notebook. Now most notebooks that we sell all have wireless integrated. So really what happens, again, it comes back to usage model and consumers getting frustrated with something that was sort of put together, kind of quickly because the market was adopting that sort of wireless card or the OEM builders who were building the notebook said, we're not going to change our design until 2 years from now. So customers are going to have to suffer through this design for 2 years. You're starting to see people take a step back and say, what's the usage model? What needs to be integrated? Bluetooth is another thing that needs to be integrated. So you're going to start to see those types of cards and those usage models becoming completely standard across the board. And from Alienware, those types of feature sets will usually always be standard.
So, getting away from hardware-specific stuff, Alienware, the company, has made a name for itself by historically catering to the gaming set. There are plenty of examples of this, both in your product offerings and the sort of online community-focused areas of your website. Could you tell us a bit more about your Players Lounge, more specifically your Come Out and Play initiative, and your Alienware Online Match Challenge?
Absolutely. So, with Come Out and Play, Come Out and Play is in a nutshell a challenge and an invite from Alienware to say, what are you doing with your hardware? What sort of games are you playing with? What sort of activities are you doing on your hardware? What sort of videos are you making? Come here to this centralized location. Post your stuff. Tell us about yourself. Interact with people in the Come Out and Play community. And at the end of the day, we have our Alienware challenge to people, which says, think you're a player, come and prove it, and we are challenging people to come to our site. We're arranging matches where people will get to play against some Alienware corporate staff here, and some Alienware internal staff that are pretty damn good, I can say, for personal experience. So it's basically sort of a testament to our roots, saying, here's what we do best, and come and experience it for yourself. Come and see Alienware. And also, at the end of this, I need to get your address. I'm going to send you one of our great Come On and Play T-shirts. It's a player T-shirt, so I'll need to get that before the call ends, and I'm sure you'll like it. But really, Ray, what it is, it's a sort of testament to who we are, and saying, this is us, this is our market, and this is what we do best. And hey, if you think you're a better gamer, come and show us. So we're very excited about it.
Awesome. So our students can challenge you guys to an online smackdown?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now these Alienware guys, I have to warn you, are pretty good. So you got to be careful with these guys in here.
Okay. You've got some nifty, if brief, consumer education information in the Alienware Advisor section of your website. Are there any plans to expand this technology education effort?
Absolutely. So we're constantly looking at different sections of our website where we can improve, what we can improve at, and I can tell you that section is right next on our plate. So probably post-holiday season, we're going to take a step back and really start addressing the educational standpoint from the usage model. What are you doing with your PC? Are you playing games? Are you doing multimedia? Are you doing video editing? What is your primary usage? Are you trying just to surf the net, or do you want a PC to run all of your home applications, but you want HD as well in case you need to do an HD presentation? So we're going to start taking an initiative to educate around the usage model. Once we find out what the customer is most interested in on the usage model level, we're able to really hammer down on the education, because we don't want to pour education down people's throats and say, hey, this is Intel Vive and it's multimedia, this is what it does, and if your usage model is gaming. So what does Intel Vive have to do with my gaming? I really don't care about multimedia. I want to know about gaming. Then come here and you can be educated on gaming. So we want to get those users to come in through the door who are focused on a couple of usage models, and really educate them thereafter they've been selected on the usage model.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Mark. We really appreciate your time. I certainly learned a lot in this interview, and I'm sure our students will find it fascinating. Speaking personally, as somebody who considers himself a gamer, I hope to see Alienware around for a long time to come.
Thank you, Ray.